Okay, good morning one and all. Basically today we will going to start a very new chapter, that is excretion. Now since we have discussed about digestion in a very first chapter, that means the food has been digested. Then we have discussed about the process of respiration, that means after digestion of food, those digested nutrients through blood moves to the cells and gets break down into simpler substances in the form of carbon dioxide and water. Then we have discussed about the process of transportation also, how the digested nutrient or different material transport to the target tissues or cells. Now after digestion, that means the material which has not been digested, or you can say the waste form, basically after digestion whatever the material remain left has been ejected out through the process of deification or egestion, like we have discussed in case of Holozoic mode of nutrition in the very first chapter. Now in all these processes in the cell, due to certain metabolic reactions whichever is happening in the cell, produces certain toxic or waste material also. So the waste material which produces due to any kind of chemical reaction happens in the cell, that waste material is known as metabolic waste, and that waste metabolic waste should not transfer or should not circulate in our blood and need to be removed out of the body. And this process of removal of the metabolic waste is known as excretion. So what do you mean by excretion is the removal of metabolic waste from blood is process known as excretion. Now what is this metabolic waste all about? We have written the term that metabolic waste, but what is this metabolic waste? In our human body system or in any organism, basically a chemical reactions takes place. Chemical reaction, like we have discussed in the chapter respiration also, there are certain chemical reaction carries out in an organism or in any cell. This chemical reaction may catalyzed by enzyme or may not catalyzed by enzyme, but certain chemical reaction whatever is happening in the cell is actually known as the metabolic reaction, or the process is known as metabolism. This metabolism is the sum of anabolism plus catabolism. So whatever the reaction is happening in the cell, including the anabolic process and the catabolic process. Anabolic means the constructive process and catabolic is the destructive processes. All the reaction whichever happens in the cell, some form of metabolic waste also produces in that reaction. So the metabolic waste or whatever the waste produces due to these reaction is actually known as metabolic waste. Now these waste may be ammonia, urea, uric acid, CO2, excess water, salts, etc. Main important waste are the nitrogenous waste. The most important waste are nitrogenous waste which need to be removed out. Importantly, it is very important to remove out all the types of nitrogenous waste. So this is known as excretion. Similar to this term or similar to the definition of this term, we also used to study about the term egestion. Fine. we have discussed that what is excretion, but what is egestion? Egestion is also the removal of waste, but actually here egestion means the removal of undigested material remain left after complete digestion. So here the egestion means removal of undigested material that remain left after complete digestion is known as egestion process. So what is the difference in between this excretion term and this egestion term is excretion is the removal of metabolic waste. Metabolic waste means the waste produced by certain kind of metabolic reaction. But the egestion is not the removal of metabolic waste. It is only the removal of material which has been left undigested after complete digestion of all types of nutrient. So that is why this egestion is different and this excretion is different. Through excretion, the metabolic waste removed in the form of urine, while through egestion, the material or waste which removed in the form of fecal matter. In excretion, there are certain excretory organs involved. Excretory organs involved in formation, in process of formation of urine. That means these excretory organs are separate organ or specialized organ for removal of these metabolic waste, while the process of removal of fecal matter is done in the digestive system only, that is in the large or small intestine, and this fecal matter removed through an organ known as anus. So this is the difference in between excretion and egestion. Now in this chapter we will going to talk about different types of excretory organs in different animal, and the main concern is human excretory system. So let's talk about for excretory system or excretory organs in different animals. First we will going to discuss about excretion in amoeba. Now, like in process of digestion also, we considered firstly the amoeba digestion, the mode of nutrition in amoeba, which is the simplest mode, or you can say simplest holozoic mode of nutrition. In the same way, we are taking an example of amoeba again here in the process of excretion, because amoeba is unicellular protozoa. This is unicellular protozoa and it lives in water. Basically it lives in water. Now what happens in amoeba, since it is a single cell organism, so whatever the waste produces in amoeba, basically amoeba are specially an animal which is amonotelic. That means its main excretory waste is ammonia. The main excretory waste of amoeba is ammonia. Why ammonia? Because since it lives in water, it is an aquatic cell. So ammonia need more and more amount of water to excrete out as compared to urea and uric acid. Since ammonia need more amount of water to excrete out, so ammonia is a major excretory waste in all those animals or organism that lives in water. So you can say the aquatic animal have the main excretory waste substance as ammonia. Similarly, uric acid or urea does not require much amount of water. You can say it required moderate amount of water to excrete out. So urea generally found in we human beings and mammals and vertebrates. While you can say uric acid, it does not require any amount of water to excrete out. So uric acid found as a main excretory waste material in generally the animals that completely lives on land, that is terrestrial animal, or which lives in dry condition like birds, reptiles. Almost in all the birds and mostly reptile excrete out uric acid as their excretory waste form. And fishes excrete out ammonia, as well as the young one of frog, that is tadpole, also excrete out ammonia as their waste material. So here we are talking about amoeba, which is also living in the water. So that is why it excrete out ammonia as their waste material, because it is highly soluble in water. Now, how amoeba excrete out? The mode or the method of excretion in amoeba is diffusion. How? Basically what happened, the amount of ammonia or the concentration of ammonia found more or higher inside the cell of amoeba. That means high concentration of ammonia found inside cell of amoeba as compared to their surroundings. And this ammonia must have been produced inside the cell of amoeba through the metabolic reaction. That means it is a metabolic waste which produced due to certain metabolic reaction happened in the cell of amoeba. That is why ammonia is found at higher concentration inside the cell as compared to outside environment. So in this particular condition, what happened? Ammonia must have been diffused from inside cell to outside cell, and this is known as diffusion, and this is the best method of excretion of this metabolic waste of ammonia. That means metabolic waste excreted out in the form of ammonia through its cell surface or through its cell membrane by the process of diffusion. Since amoeba is a single-celled organism, so here what is happening, this ammonia molecules are removing out or excreting out from high concentration to its low concentration, that is from inside of the cell to the outside of the cell by the process of diffusion. Again, in amoeba, not only ammonia is an excretory waste, but it may also contain the excretory waste form as excess salt and water. So it has the excretory waste form also have excess water and salt. So this excess water and salt also need to be removed from the cell of amoeba. So how these excretory waste, water and salt is removed? Inside the amoeba, we have another structure present. A type of vacuole is present, that is known as contractile vacuole. So to remove out, it has a specialized vacuole known as contractile vacuole. This contractile vacuole is a type of vacuole only which actually absorb excess amount of water and salt from its cell and it throw it out of the cell. For example, if this is a contractile vacuole, so what it is doing is it is absorbing excess salt and water inside it, and it comes near to the cell. Here it comes, and it gets burst by striking with the wall of, or by striking with the membrane of amoeba, and it throw out all the excess salt and water. And with this, the contractile vacuole carrying this excess salt and water will also get burst out. So in this manner, the excess salt and water also removed from the cell of amoeba, and through the process of diffusion, ammonia, which is the main excretory waste material of amoeba, also excrete out from its cell surface only by the process of diffusion. So this is about the process of excretion in amoeba. Now let's discuss different excretory organ. Like in our course, we have only different names of the excretory organs in different phylums on different animals. So let's discuss about it. So excretory organs in different animals. Now, for example, if we talk about different phylum, the first phylum comes is phylum Protozoa. It has the excretory organ as plasma membrane only. That means Protozoa includes amoeba, paramecium, plasmodium. So it has the excretory surface through which all the excretory waste material release out, that is through its plasma membrane. Second phylum, that is Porifera, or you can say sponges. Here also the excretory organ considered as its plasma membrane, because here also the organized system is tissue or cellular grade only. Third is phylum Cnidaria, which includes Hydra. So it also have the excretory surface as plasma membrane. Then after, the phylum Platyhelminthes comes. These are worms like structure which includes mainly the flat worms. So here the excretory waste material considered as flame cells, specialized cells which involves in the process of excretion of metabolic waste, which is known as flame cells. Then another Nematode, or you can say Nemathelminthes. So this includes Ascaris or round worms. Here again the specialized cell known as rennet cells. These rennet cells present in the form of canals or tube-like structure, fine, through which its metabolic waste again remove out. Then the next phylum is about annelids, that is earthworm. In basically annelids or earthworm, there are again the specialized cell known as nephridia, through which the excretion of metabolic waste removes. Then arthropoda, insects. These are arthropoda, that means having jointed legs. Insects. Here the Malpighian tubules, or also in some insect there is another excretory organ known as coxal glands. Fine. So here arthropoda. Then next phylum is mollusca. Now basically mollusca is the phylum which includes all those like octopus. We include octopus in case of mollusca. Here the excretory organ is kidney, but only in case of Uniomollusca. This is an example, comes under mollusca. The excretory organ kidney is also known as organ of Bojanus. In the similar, the phylum Echinodermata. This Echinodermata, which includes starfish. Here the excretory organ considered is their tube feet, through which their excretory waste material remove out. And the last but not the least is hemichordates. or our, after that hemichordate, all chordata, we all have the excretory organ as glomerulus. That is nephron. So these are certain different name of excretory organ in different phylums or in different group of animal. Now let's discuss about the excretion in we human beings. Now as we all know that we human beings are vertebrate and we all are mammals. Basically we have the main excretory organ as one pair, kidneys. But kidney helps in the process of removal of metabolic waste in the form of urine. Fine. But except urine also we have another accessory excretory waste products. Accessory excretory waste product means the waste product which produce other than the main metabolic waste. That means in human being our main excretory organ is one pair kidney, and our main excretory waste is urea in the form of urine. But there are wastes other than main excretory waste, which is known as accessory excretory waste. So this accessory excretory waste, what are these accessory excretory waste and what are the accessory excretory organ which helps in the removal of these other types of waste material? These accessory excretory wastes are basically these are like, for example, if we takes oxygen inside, that means during inhalation, this oxygen goes to our different tissues or cells through blood, through RBC, and after utilizing oxygen by the cells for complete oxidation of glucose, the another waste product produces, that is CO2, carbon dioxide. So these waste products include carbon dioxide, that means CO2. CO2 is the excretory waste product produced in the cell. It produced inside cells. But this cells releases out this CO2 and binds this CO2 with the hemoglobin or with another form, and it excrete out through the blood, again that is by lungs or alveoli. So here it produces or remove out by lungs. So lungs is the another accessory excretory organ except or rather than kidney, because lungs is helping in removal of this accessory excretory waste, carbon dioxide produced during complete oxidation of our food molecule. Second excretory waste product, it may be bile pigments. Now what are bile pigments? We all know bile pigments produced in liver. So liver is the main organ where these bile pigments are produced. Now what exactly these bile pigments are? These bile pigments are nothing. These are the disintegrated forms of hemoglobin. These are disintegrated form of hemoglobin pigment. Our hemoglobin pigment is the red colored pigment found in RBC which carries the oxygen to transport the oxygen. It is helping in the transportation of oxygen, but when this gets completely denatured, or you can say when the hemoglobin pigment gets non-functional or disintegrate, then it breaks up into different types of bile pigment, that is bilirubin and biliverdin. These bile pigments are bilirubin and biliverdin. So these bile pigments which produce in the liver also excrete out. Fine. So this liver is another excretory organ. So you can consider the liver as another accessory excretory organ which convert the disintegrated form of hemoglobin into another excretory form, that is bile pigment. Another accessory excretory waste form is, third is excess salt and water. Excess salt means sodium chloride, NaCl, excess water. This has to be removed. That means whenever any metabolic reaction which happens in the body. So maybe it has happened that in some of the metabolic reaction this excess water or salt may be producing. So this excess salt and water remove out through in the form of sweat, and this sweat secrete out through sweat glands, and these sweat glands present over the skin. So skin is another excretory organ or accessory excretory organ. So in this manner we have accessory excretory organ are lungs, liver and skin rather than kidney, except kidney. That means kidney के अलावा अगर कोई accessory excretory organ हमारी body में है तो वो तीन तरह के organ और है, lungs, liver and kidney. Lungs is throwing out carbon dioxide which is producing during oxidation of glucose. Liver is throwing out or producing bile pigments which is another disintegrated form of hemoglobin pigment. And the sweat glands, that means skin, through skin the sweat excrete out or secrete out which removes out excess salt and water. So in this manner we have another accessory excretory organ in human. Now we will going to discuss about the main excretory organ, that is kidney. So we will going to discuss our human excretory system, kidney, in the next lecture. So till here we have discussed about the excretory system in animals, about excretory organs in the animal, as well as we have discussed about some accessory excretory organs in the animal. Now in the next lecture we will going to discuss about the excretory system in human beings.